In this video, we're going to be talking about how to infuse the website that you're creating with strategy. So what is the website in relation to the brand carry-all that you've already created? Well, this is kind of like the online storefront that you're giving your clients. It's the one piece of online real estate that your clients really can own and communicate in their own way. I mean, they have social media and they have email marketing, but they really can't control that much of that because of algorithms. They can't decide when people go and open their emails. And so this is the one thing that they really get to control. So it's really important that we get this right. So what do we focus on when creating the website? Because when I was making this lesson, I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much that goes into making a website really successful. And I know sometimes when you get a website client, it can feel a little overwhelming of like, where do I go? What do I focus on? What's my job? What's somebody else's job? So I'm going to tell you what we need to focus on. Now, this might not be what you were expecting, or maybe it was because you've heard me talk about it so much at this point. But the website is all about the audience. Now, you've heard me say a million times before now that the brand is all about the audience. But I think a lot of the times designers and clients can forget as soon as they jump into designing the website that they forget that it's all about the audience, and all of a sudden they just want to start creating this online storefront that's just bragging about themselves and talking about all the things that they can do, when really the website needs to be totally directed to your audience. So this is a book I highly recommend if you're doing any web strategy. I actually accidentally was listening to this book on audio when I was creating my own website, and it very clearly helped me understand how I needed to lay out my website and in what format. So this is kind of what he recommends, and this is now what I do. After I read this, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm going to do for every single website. And so these are the things that he recommends. Is one, you need to tell and be very specific and very clear about this, about what the audience wants and what's in the way of what they want. Now, I know this may seem obvious. You're like, duh, obviously, Carly, but you have to be really, really clear in spelling this out and actually tell them, this is what you want, and here's what's standing in the way of that. You start looking at really good websites now, you'll notice that they all do this. Second thing is to clearly identify what your client offers, how it makes the audience's life better, and what they need to do to buy it. Again, I know it's probably super obvious, of course they know how to click a buy button, but you need to tell them, click this button. Again, the third thing is the outcome if the audience doesn't buy. You need to tell the audience what's going to happen if they continue to not buy from this client. So as I was listening to this, I was like, this kind of sounds like the brand strategy process. And it kind of relates back to during the strategy session when we were talking about the little journey that they go through. It's very, very familiar to that. And so as you're creating the website, what you're going to be doing is you're really going to be pulling from the branded path, and you're going to be pulling from that part of the strategy session as well. But in order to communicate the things from the path that you've already done in the strategy and the thing that you decided in the strategy session, in order to communicate those things, you need to figure out, what does the audience need to still feel and understand when they are at this phase in the path. So remember, we're going back to that branded path where when you go through the sales funnel and you go through the journey of how they're going to buy. Now you go to the part where they're on the website, what are the things that they really need to understand, that they really need to get over in order for them to get to the next step, to buy? Do they need to feel more confident? Do they need to understand a process better? Do they need more clarity? Because now you know what needs to go on a website, like we talked about all the things with the audience. How do we need to communicate that? So now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of it. How do you communicate all of that we just talked about to the audience? I know it's kind of a lot. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to create a sitemap. This is an example of one that I did for a client. Basically what it is it's laying out all of the content that needs to go on the website in a story format. This just helps your brain think so much clearer of okay, cool, I got it all down. I know what I'm going to be doing first, second, third. So before I even start any of the designing, I need to understand what's going on the website. So I'll lay out what the first section on the home page is. Is that linking to anything? You'll see that the green boxes are individual sections. The yellow boxes are pages that those green boxes link to. Purple boxes are external pages that section links to. And the red section are pop-ups that are going to pop up on that part of the page. Now, when I'm creating sitemap, I like to have lots of call to actions, basically meaning I like to link every section to a very specific page. For example, you'll see like on the home page, the very first section, I identify what it is that I want to accomplish with that first section. Is it the mission statement? Do I want to tell about who they are? Do I want to tell a little bit of their story? Do I want to tell the process? Like what is the purpose of this section? And then what is going to be the call to action on this section? Am I going to lead them to another page? And then am I going to lead them to an external link? What's going to happen? And then I go to the next section. What's the purpose of this section? Now, is it an about page? Is it a sales page? Whatever it is. And what is it going to link to? And so on and so on and so on. And I do this for every single page on the website. The about page, the home page, the course page, whatever it is that's on the website. Now, the second step is you're going to decide now on a layout strategy. Now that you kind of know like what's going into the website, how are you going to present this all? Now, this one's a little bit more difficult, but you should already have somewhat figured out from creating the brand carry-all, and in the industry specific solutions page, you should have listed out a few solutions that are going to help guide this process so that this should be a little bit easier for you. But like I said, when you're creating a website, there's a lot of things that are going into it. You have images, you have copy, you have branding, colors, type, layout, so many different things. You need to make sure that everything is communicating in the way it needs to. So what are the things that you need to be focusing on as a designer, or whatever your role is for a designer? It's branding, content, and layout. Now, content, I don't mean like writing copy, but I like to help out like with the structure and the layout of the website, like what's going here, what's going next, and then what's going next. And then my client can fill in the blanks and write out all the copy, but I like to help them with the content. So what you're going to do is you're going to kind of fill out this chart with the things that you are in control of. Branding, content, layout, and what is the branding communicating, and what is it not communicating? What is the content communicating? What is it not communicating? And what is the layout communicating, and what is it not communicating? So then you can kind of see if there's anything that you're hitting way too hard on, and if there's anything that you need to hit harder on. So then you don't miss anything while you're designing the website, because again, I know it's a lot. There will be an overlap with a lot of the things that you're communicating, but again, you just need to make sure nothing's missing, and this gets it a lot clearer. So like I said, you can't do everything. The design cannot solve every single problem on the website. Like I said, there's imagery, there's copy, there's other things. And I like to give my client a little bit of direction where I'm like, these type of images are really going to help communicate this, or we really need this type of image here. And a lot of the times they want that expertise too. They have no idea how to pick images. They don't know what to put on their website. And so you can either do that for an extra charge, or you can just give them a little bit of free guidance if you want, whatever you prefer to do. But I think it's helpful when you help your client, because that could totally kill your design having bad imagery. So just to recap, a website is the online storefront. You want to focus on the audience in the website. You want to follow the StoryBrand framework. I love that book. Definitely go read it. You need to decide on a layout strategy. Make sure every problem is being solved. Make sure you're not hitting too hard and like not as hard as you should on other problems. And remember, the design can't do everything.